Hey everybody, welcome to my next video with the Skyviper V2450 GPS. Today we're going to be doing a longer video. It's going to be a tutorial video on the software called Tower, which is an Android app, and we're going to basically connect it to our Skyviper V2450 GPS and use it to fly remote missions with waypoints. So this is a really awesome feature of this GPS. This GPS that was between $100 and $200, that with GPS feature you can send it on missions, autonomous missions, start the machine, start the Skyviper up, hit the auto button and send it on its way. I will talk about how to get your auto button on your remote, don't worry. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff. It's going to be a long video. The first thing you want to do is download the Tower app by Droid Planner, and you can see my app store is open here, and if you type in the words Tower GPS like my screen shows, it will find you this icon with the blue circle and the white little airplane, and you're going to install it and then you're going to open it. Once Tower opens, you're going to be presented with a map screen that looks just like this, and it might not be in your area, and there's a little icon on the very top left hand corner of your screen. If I just go over here and I click it, you can see it brings me right back to where I am. So if you're not positioned in your area where you are, go ahead and just click that button and take you there. Alright, the first thing we want to do is show you how to make waypoints. So the very top left hand corner of the screen, there's a little drop down button. I'm just going to click on it, and I'm going to go Editor. So that's where you want to go to add your waypoints, and you can see we've got some icons along the top of the screen. The one that's selected is a blue waypoint icon, and simply, very easily, all you have to do is start touching the screen and dropping waypoints. So I'll touch a waypoint there, I'll touch a waypoint there, one there, and one there. And you can see we've got 4 waypoints all around the area that I am. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, it added the little waypoints, 1 to 4. They show the waypoint at 20 meters, which means your drone will fly to 20 meters at waypoint 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's another way to make waypoints. We can click on the next icon beside it, which is the squiggly line icon, and it allows you to draw a cool, intricate pattern through an area around, and you can see it added a whole bunch of waypoints. So either way, we'll add waypoints. You can see they're all 20-meter waypoints, 1 through 24. That's how you draw them on the screen. The next button over is a select button, and if you want to select them, you can individually tap on the screen where they are, or down below on the screen down there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 9 selected. If I wanted to delete those, the garbage can is right next to it. You can also see a select all tab if you want to select everything, but I'll just click the garbage can, and then I'll just click selected, and it'll say clear those waypoints from the map, and it says okay, and there they're gone. So that is how you can delete the waypoints. Another thing you can do is move the waypoints. So say you wanted to fly at some point. I'm going to go my single waypoint. I'm going to click over on my screen here to this hut here. And say I wanted to fly to that little house, or hut as I just called it. It's actually a house. And I wanted to do that between waypoints 6 and 7. So all I do is I go to my waypoint on the bottom and I find 22, and I just hold it and I drag it all the way between 6 and 7. If I let go there, you'll see that it puts it in between 6 and 7. So that is how you add a waypoint to the middle of your mission without changing all of the other waypoints. Really, really easy. Now, that next thing we're going to talk about is the actual waypoints and what they are. If I just sent it, I couldn't just send this mission because the Skyviper wouldn't know where to take off from, it wouldn't know where to land, it wouldn't know what to do after it finished waypoint 22. So there's a few things you have to put in before you can send this to your drone, and it will actually add them automatically, the takeoff and landing. It'll ask you to add them if you forget, but we're going to do it because that's what we're talking about today. Anyways, we're going to click on waypoint number 1. Once I click on waypoint number 1, it brings up this little icon or box on the right-hand side of the screen with an altitude setting and a delay before next waypoint. So here you can see we can scroll through and set our altitude that we want the drone to be at that specific area, and we can also have a delay before it continues on to the next area. But what we want to do is take off. That's the first command we want to give the the drone. So instead of waypoint 1, we're going to drop this down and we're going to choose takeoff, which is about halfway down the list. And once we click it, you'll see that it disappeared from our screen, and it also asks you how high you want to go for an altitude takeoff. So let's say 5 meters. Pitch I don't really use, I leave it at 0. It seems to work perfectly there. So 1 is a takeoff. So if we look down the list here, you can see that 1 is still here, but it's got a little symbol of a takeoff, but it's no longer on the map. It's not a waypoint, which means if I'm standing way over here and I take off at this field in the corner, it will fly to waypoint number 2 and then start the mission. If if I fly from takeoff from this field, it'll fly to waypoint number 2. So it really makes no difference exactly where you are, where it launches. It'll go to 5 meters, and then it'll fly to waypoint 2 which is 20 meters. If you're taking off from somewhere, say over here, you don't want to be at 5 meters. You want to be a lot higher than 5. So I will go, say, back to 20, so it'll clear all the trees and the buildings and everything else. So the first thing it does is it takes off, and then it flies to waypoint number 2. The last waypoint, let's go to 22, and we want that either to land at a specific spot or return to launch. So we can drop down the waypoint selector, and you can see if we have right in the middle, we've got land, which I'll click first, and it goes to a triangle, and I can say I want to land when this mission is finished. I want to land over here. You can see how I'm moving these as well. I guess I should have explained that. To move a waypoint, you're just going to click on it on the map until you grab it, and then I'm still holding it, and I'm just going to move it and drop it. So that's how you move the waypoints around once they're on your map. So if you say you wanted to move 7 a little bit over, you can hold on 7, wait till it pops up, and then you can move it where you want. I'll put it over top of this little shack thing there, and that's where waypoint 7 will go. So that's how you can individually move them. Now, instead of landing at 22, instead of flying 22, so you can see that 22 is set to 20 meters as well. So instead of flying to 22, it will fly to 22, and then it'll drop and land all by itself at that specific spot. You do have control to move it around left and right, forward, backward, just not up and down with your controller, because it's running in auto, but you certainly can use it to avoid things to land on its final approach. Or if you don't want to land a specific area, say you take off from this field over here and you want to land in that same field, then instead of a 22 waypoint, I'll select 22, instead of that being a land, you can click return to launch. So that will disappear off the screen. You can see that over on my bar on the bottom. 22 is return to launch. So waypoint 1 and 22 are no longer on the screens. If you take off from, say, this field exactly right here, it will fly to waypoint number 2, fly to 3, fly to 4, fly to all through the pattern until it's finished, and then it will fly back to where it started from. Now, there's a few other cool little waypoints that I'm going to show you that I figured out with trial and error, but I'm just going to show you how they work. Let's say that you wanted to fly at some point during your path to this particular spot where these buildings are, and you wanted your drone to face that area and capture the video or whatever of the specific spot while it's flying. Well, the very easy way to do that, we're going to grab waypoint number 2, and we're going to change waypoint number 2 to what's called a region of interest. And you can see it disconnected it from our path, and I'm going to move it way over here, and I'm going to put it on this building right there. So what will happen is the drone will take off with step number 1, fly to 20 meters. Then its instructions are look at number 2 spot. So it points the camera in the direction of number 2. Then it flies to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Flies to all of those things. And while it's flying, it keeps the camera exactly pointing toward that specific waypoint number 2. Now let's say when it gets to finishes, let's say we want to keep it, maybe we'll move 10 over here, so that while it's flying around 10, from 9 to 10, 12, 11, it'll keep the camera pointed at that section the whole way. And say once it got to waypoint 12, we wanted to stop looking at number 2. I should mention as well, when it's flying without a region of interest, it just looks toward the next waypoint. So as it's flying, it constantly faces, the camera will constantly face the direction of the next waypoint. Anyways, so let's say at section number 12, we want to stop looking at that shack, so I'm going to drop down this waypoint, and I'm going to choose Reset ROI, Region of Interest. So you can see number 12 disappears, and basically it stops looking at the number 2 dot, and it'll start looking at 13, 14, 15, and 16, or fly toward those and keep looking at it. Say we want it at waypoint 16, we want to add another region of interest. We can click on 17, we can drop down region of interest, and that will disconnect, and as soon as it gets to 16, it'll start looking like, let's have it look backward, and it will look to us backward. So that is how you set up region of interest. Now, another way of doing a fly around, you can see this is from 9 to 10 to 11, it's very straight and over. But say you want to do a circle around that whole little shack while the camera's looking at it. Instead of making all of these waypoints, we can just add a circle waypoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to select everything. So select button, select all, garbage can, selected, and okay. So they're all gone. So we're going to redraw a path. Let's just draw it straight out to there. 1, 2, 3. So 1, we know we need to take off, so I'm going to switch it to take off. leave it at just scroll through. Well, see, it's going to land on 21. Ding, ding. There we are. Number 2, I want it to fly to this. Click on, grab it here and move it. Click to this building here. I want it to circle around that building. Well, what you do is you drop this open and you choose the word circle. And you can see it draws a circle on the screen, and we can choose our altitude. So say you want to lower your altitude to say 15 meters, and you want to maybe do a really wide radius of the circle, 20, and then it'll continue on with its mission. And number of turns as well as how many times it goes around. So it'll fly to the circle, fly around the circle, keep the camera pointed at the middle of that circle the whole time, and then fly to the next waypoint. Let's just use the little waypoint tool and add a few more swigglies down here to continue on our mission. So let's say you wanted to start from the building here, and we've forgotten to place our waypoint in there. I can take waypoint number 9 and I can slide it over here to after number 1, and you can see, boom, we've got now number 2. So here's a waypoint we can add. So it's going to fly to that point of the circle, do the revolutions, and then continue on its mission. After number 3, if you wanted to look at something else, I could take number 4 and make it a region of interest, and I could say I want it to look at this building while it's flying around, and then it would fly to number 5, facing the camera over to that building. So that's how circles work. You basically just click on circle, number of turns, how many you want, 5 spins, and you can circle that area. It'll face the camera toward it. It's really, really cool. And don't forget, on the last one, waypoint 9, it needs to be either a land or return to launch. So land, we want it to land right in our beginning parking lot here, we do that. Or if we wanted to return to launch, where we took off from, we would just change it from land to return to launch, like that. So that is the basics of setting waypoints. We're 11 minutes in the video. Hopefully you're still with me. We've got a lot more to go because we've got to connect the SkyViper to this app and send the waypoints and then launch the mission. But that is how you edit and add waypoints. Let's see, what did I forget? Okay, let's say that everything is set to 20 meters right now. You can see we've manually changed some to different heights. There's the circle. If I change this, I can set the altitude. Let's say you want to do a low flight. You're in a big empty field with nothing in it, and you want to fly all your waypoints at, say, 5 meters off the ground, and you don't want to have to change every single one. Well, let's go into the preferences and see what we can change in there. So we're going to go into settings, which is this bottom icon, and we're going to look down here. You can see it, and there's advanced settings, which I'm going to click on. Now, there's a max altitude value of 400, and if you want to fly higher than that, which is actually not a good idea, you can click that and change that, but we're going to leave that at 400, and the minimum altitude we're going to leave at 0. Default altitude, so here we are. So let's say you wanted to start off at 5 meters. So you're going to go done, and you're going to click OK. And the only other thing that I really want to show you in this one is the mission editor default speed here. It's set to 10 meters per second, which is kind of what the SkyViper travels at full speed. It goes a little bit faster than that, so if you want to set it to 12 or 13, it will a little bit faster. But I find that if you fly really fast, your battery seems to drop, and it's when it drops, it'll get past the point of I'm dead, and then we have to do the fail-safes and return to home, which is also what I'm going to mention now. Let's say there's a few things to mention on this mission. When you're flying an auto mission, the drone will return to you if it flies farther than your fence limit. So there's another video that I made with fences. Watch that. I'll show you how to change your fences. Or it flies back to you if it loses control of the signal or the transmitter. So let's say, for example, you took waypoint 5 and you flew it way over here. Now you're not going to be able to see that way over there starting from our building, and it's going to lose signal. So as your mission happens, it's going to take off, fly to 2, do the circle, go to the look at the circle on the little building there, and then it's going to fly way over there. Now say about here is where you're going to lose your signal. As soon as it loses signal, the drone is programmed to return to launch. It overrides the auto, it aborts the mission, and it returns to launch. There's a few things that I need you to know about return to launch. Return to launch, I believe it's set to only 4 or 5 feet to return, and you can change that in your advanced settings. Perhaps I'll find the picture of it. Actually, I will find the picture of where to set that so it launches higher. So what I mean by that is, say you're flying at a lower altitude and the drone has to return home, it will fly up only about 4 or 5 feet and then make a straight path to home, through buildings, through walls, through fences, whatever. So I have mine set much, much higher. I choose like 30 meters. So as soon as there's some problem or I hit that return to home button, it flies way up in the air over top of trees and houses and then flies directly back. So you want to have that set for that. Now, another thing you can do is is remove that safety, is you can turn off that safety. And I'm going to also show you the screens for turning off that safety. And when you turn off that safety, the drone will lose signal with the remote, and the remote will start freaking out and beeping and flashing between indoor and GPS mode. Always fly in GPS mode, by the way. Do not take off doing an auto mission until the green light is steady on. The tower app will allow you to take off and fly the mission before the GPS lock is locked in on your remote, but do not do that. I've never tried it, but you're not safely home locked unless that solid light is green. So wait for a green lock, then send it on its mission. Now, to disable the setting for the safety, the failsafe, it's in the failsafe setting, and you want to turn it to continue with the mission. This setting that I'm showing on the screen here, this is where you want to set it to so that it ignores the fact that the controller is not communicating, and it will continue through to its mission on 5 and then continue back. When the GPS comes back into range, when the Sky Viper comes back into range, the remote will beep again, the green light will come on, and at that point you do have controls to left and right, side to side, forward, backward. You don't have altitude controls because it's still flying its mission. However, you can, once it's in land mode, you can adjust it and move it around so that it doesn't crash into stuff. Anyway, so that's that safety on that. Alright, and there's another item I want to show you on Waypoints. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the item off here. I'm going to select all of this stuff, and I'm going to get rid of it all. Delete mission, sure, okay. Alright, and then I'm going to draw some squiggly lines or squiggly circle. Now, these waypoints, if I go to them, you can see that it says waypoint. There's also one called a spline waypoint. And I'm going to make a whole bunch of these spline waypoints, and I'll show you what they do differently than a regular waypoint. Essentially, they're the same as a waypoint, but they're like a smoother kind of a line. What the drone does is it actually flies kind of through the waypoint instead of to the waypoint. So you can see these lines are kind of curved now. So when it flies, it goes from 1 and then to 2 and then to 3, and it does a curve pattern instead of a straight and then a straight turn. So these fly faster. Your mission will fly faster with the spline waypoints, and they don't actually go necessarily right over top of that waypoint. They kind of say, okay, I'm going from 3 to 4, so I'm going to kind of cut the corner very roundly and go to 4. And they make your mission a little more smoother, and your cameras are smoother, and everything seems to work a little better with that. So that's called Spline Waypoint. Okay, so now we're going to connect to the Sky Viper, and we're going to send this plan or this mission to it. So the first thing we need to do is make a change in one of the advanced settings using the Sky Viper's web interface. And so you're going to open up your web browser once it's connected to the Sky Viper to the 192.168.99.1, and you're going to go to the parameters, flight parameters, and you're going to, where it says parameter category, you're going to choose the word all. And under the search parameters, you're going to type in serial, S-E-R-I-A-L, 1_P, and that'll bring up the parameter that we're going to change. You can see it's set to navlink, or set to number 2, and we're going to change it to 1. That will talk to the tower app. So that's the first thing we need to do to get it to talk. Then the next thing we need to do is actually on the tower app, so I'm going to go ahead and click the tower app, and we're going to open up this and go to vehicle data. We need to set the type of communications, the link up to the drone. So we need to be on UDP. So I think when you started this, I think I already changed on mine, but it was at TCP, but you need to be UDP, and then these 3 little dots you click on, you go to the connection settings, or the port rather, and it should be on connection port 14550. You click OK. That is all the settings you need to do, and then you simply click the connect button, which you can see looks like this little Wi-Fi symbol, and once it's connected, the drone will say connected, or the tablet will say that. We need the GPS lock. We're inside right now, so we're going to get that error a few times while we're doing this. But you can see that it's connected. You get a visual, and if I look on the right, I can see some telemetry information. I'll just turn my drone over to the side. You can see it doing some banking, and it's got some elevations and some numbers. I'll just put my drone back down. So you can see that it's connected that way. The video and the videos and the camera settings, I haven't been able to get them to work. So if you can figure that out and you want to post a link below on how to get those working to show them on the screen, that would be cool. I can't figure it out. Don't really need it to send an auto mission though. Alright, so now on the top right hand corner there's these 3 little dots. We're going to click upload mission, and sometimes it takes a few seconds. And you can hear it said waypoint saved to drone. Okay, so I'm going to, before I continue, I'm going to download the mission. That will just verify that they are in the same spot. Waypoints received. So I've sent them to the drone, and then I've asked the drone to send me them back so I can verify what's on the screen. And that's essentially what you do to send it to the drone. Now, you can also save your path, your waypoint path. So I'll quickly show you that, because that's handy. I'm going to go back to the editor. First, I'm going to disconnect from my drone. We're ready to fly at this point, but I'm going to disconnect. I'm going to go back to my editor and show you how to save this path. Say this is a really cool mission and you want to save it. Down on the bottom right-hand corner, you can export to file. So you click that, and we call it cool mission, or whatever you want to call it. Cool Miss 1 or whatever, Cool Mission 1. And then you can click OK, and that saves that waypoint, and then I can load other ones. So you can see I've got import from file. I can choose circles around shop, and that loads a big circle. So it's a fast way of getting old waypoints in and saving it. That's how to save it. All right, so now we're ready to fly our auto mission. So I'm going to load back my mission that we just had. Import from file, my Cool Miss 1. There we are. I'm going to go back to my drone vehicle data. I'm going to connect to it. And we should hear a confirmation. Connected. Good. So at this point, we need to get the controller to have an auto mode button, because right now from factory, the controller doesn't have an auto mode button. All right, so you're going to click on flight parameters, and you're going to see on this window that the fifth one down says T-mode _ action 5, and you can see that it's set to 0 right now. We're going to change that, drop that down to selection number 5, which says mode auto. And if you read over to the right, it says this is the action taken for the right action button while the mode button is pressed. So once your drone has the waypoints in it, on your remote control, the mode button, which is the little button below the left joystick that says mode on it, you hold that button down and then you tap the picture taking button. So you take off from the ground remotely, and then you hold down the mode button, tap that button, and away you go on your mission. I've made a mission on my screen. I've been playing the video here of it, of one of the missions I flew. I flew over some buildings and then did a figure 8 around the yard. So that was kind of cool. And so that's all you do. And basically, you can totally fly it around, do whatever you like, and that is really neat. It works really, really well. Anyways, that is all for my video, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the video. I've certainly enjoyed making it for you. And if you have any questions, as free as always, just comment them below. I really want you guys to subscribe to me. I will be posting more videos on my Sky Viper. There's a few other settings we need to look at, like the simple mode, which is kind of a cool setting. So subscribe and like, and I will be more than happy to make more videos for you guys. Anyways, thumbs up, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.